Good morning, everyone. I'm calling the meeting to order. This is the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments Built Environment and Energy Advisory Committee, or BEAC. Today is September 18th, 2025. My name is Al Carr. I am the branch chief for Clean Transportation and Infrastructure at the DC Department of Energy and Environment, serving as the BEAC chair for 2025. As requested, if you can please remember to put your name and affiliation in the chat, that helps with attendance. And the first order of business is the approval of the June 12th meeting summary. It was sent out for review via email, thanks to the staff. And for those folks who have not had a chance to review it, I will pause to let folks take a look at the meeting summary from June 12th.
And while folks do that, I will say that we did get a revision via email regarding the city of Alexandria. So Chair just wanted to make note of that. And then if there are any others, you can say it verbally or put it in the chat. So we'll make a note of the city of Alexandria's revision.
All right, well, thanks again to the staff, Leah, and other COG staff for putting this meeting together. Are there any other changes to the meeting summary other than what was sent in from the city of Alexandria?
And I'm not seeing anything in the chat.
All right, hearing none, then the summary is considered final with that amendment that was requested by the city of Alexandria. Next item is the jurisdiction updates and roundtable peer exchange. This is a chance for members from local governments to highlight projects or programs that would be of interest to the region. So there's no framing question. It's sort of just open mic night. And so you are welcome to brief the committee on energy, climate related projects or issues. And when you give your update, if you can please include your name and jurisdiction. I'll ask for comments from other stakeholders if there's time. And we will start with Maryland local government. Anybody from Maryland want to start with an update about a project or program related to energy or climate?
Al, you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead, Rich.
Hi, Rich Hall from the City of Bowie, Department of Planning and Sustainability. So I may have not met some of you. I've been here about 7 months now. It's been a while. Al, saw you in a different capacity years ago. Enjoyed working with you back in the day. But anyway, so we have a environmental action plan that we're working on now that includes a number of items, probably of interest to this committee, and climate change, water quality, energy, all those kinds of things. So we're working on that. We're looking to have it done in December, and we had public input towards the beginning of the process in April, May timeframe, and have had some check-ins with some of our environmentally related committees in the summer. And then we hope to have rough draft recommendations out for comment in mid-October. And again, looking to have the plan completed in the end of the calendar year. So thanks.
Great. Thanks, Rich. Always good to see you. The feeling is mutual. It was always great working with you in the past.
Thank you.
Any other Maryland local governments would like to give updates? Maryland local governments, if you want to just go ahead and unmute yourself and start if you want to give an update. All right, well, if any latecomers from Maryland want to jump in later, they can do that, but we will pivot to Virginia local governments. Do you have updates that you would like to share?
Yeah, I raised my hand over my hand. For the city of Alexandria, happy to announce that we have released our final revision to the 2019 Green Building Policy. It is on our website, and we hope to have it approved by City Council by the end of the year. It's been a big lift for us. A lot of effort has gone into that, so we're very happy about that. The other one is we just submitted, and I'm sure others would be probably going yes, and kind of a deep sigh relief. We just put in their CDP application, and as always, it was interesting. And I want to personally thank Maya so much for helping me get to the finish line because I found the whole greenhouse gas emissions part a little bit challenging. So that's an update from the city of Alexandria.
All right, thank you, Valerie. Appreciate that. Folks from Virginia local governments. All right, well, if someone wants to pop in later from Virginia or Maryland, you can do that, but right now we will pivot to the District of Columbia. Do we have any District of Columbia updates? And I can give one. I can say that we are at DOEE Energy Administration. We are following in the footsteps of Montgomery County, doing some work to advance food truck electrification. A lot of times food trucks have this unappetizing practice of having a gasoline powered generator that creates noise and pollution. And if we can switch those to batteries, and that would be a lot better for, I think, the food truck operators and for the customers, and also for the environment.
And Chair, if we have time and we might have time, there may be a couple non-local government stakeholders that are joining us. So if it's up to you, if you wanted to give them space to also give an update.
Thank you for that. See, Amanda from Rockville has put in the chat, Rockville expects to adopt the 2021 International Green Construction Code this fall with a couple local amendments. We are also amidst a zoning ordinance rewrite. Just got back applications for RFP for Equity Strategic Plan, 23 responses. Wow, that's really good. Okay, and I will open it up to anybody else who wants to give an update, either from local governments or from other stakeholders.
Member of COG staff, Aaron Morrow. I think you raised your hand, Aaron.
I did, Leah. I'm sorry. I should have asked earlier
No
if I
problem.
could make this announcement, but I wanted to share that the TPB has approved projects in the District of Columbia and Maryland for federal funding under the Carbon Reduction Program. And they are some really exciting projects. 2 electric refuse trucks for the city of Mount Rainier, some electric construction equipment for the district, and bike ped projects in Rockville and City of Frederick. So the final list of projects is going to be posted in the COG newsroom today. So I just wanted to make that announcement.
Thanks, Aaron. Sounds like really great news. And is that the final round of carbon reduction program projects, or will there be another one that follows this round?
The district is planning another round of competitive funding for next year. Their project solicitation this year was just internal to DDOT. They wanted to see how the process would go. So they still have, district still has about 3 years of carbon reduction program funding. And I think I can't remember, it's about, excuse me, $3 million or $5 million a year. So they have somewhere between 9 and 15 million. I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact number.
All right, good to know. I see that Steve Burr from Arlington County, apologies for having microphone issues, but Arlington County has launched its e-bike voucher program and will be issuing vouchers over the next few weeks. They had over 2,800 applicants for about 250 vouchers. Wow, that's really nice. Definitely shows the demand is there. All right. Anyone else from Maryland, Virginia, or DC, or from other stakeholders want to give an update?
Tacoma Park, can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
Just wanted to have a quick share out that our new Tacoma Park Municipal Library just opened this week. This has been several years in the making, and it's going to be a LEED Gold certified library. We're in the process of finalizing the certification. Also, we'll have solar that was funded from the Maryland Energy Administration on the roof, which we will own. So we're very excited about that.
All right, very exciting. Thanks for sharing that. Congratulations. All right, any other updates? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to our next agenda item. Elisa Boggs from COG staff will give us an update on the 2024 utility data analysis. Take it away, Alyssa.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know why is it, oh, now it's showing normal. Slides were showing like super long and skinny. Are you able to see the screen well? Yeah, they're not full screen though. Huh. Okay. How about now? Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
that looks good.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Alyssa Boggs, COG staff on the climate and energy team, and I lead the utility energy analysis that we do at the beginning of every year. We send out our annual utility energy data survey to the 9 natural gas and electric utilities that serve the metropolitan Washington region. This survey is at the end of March, or the deadline is at the end of March, so that we have time to process and analyze the data and have a robust QA/QC period with the utilities and local jurisdictions to have this data ready for you all by this meeting. So next slide. All of the data is in the Dropbox, which local government BAC members should have access to. Send me an email, which will be at the end of this presentation if you don't have access to the Dropbox. But all of the raw data is in the Dropbox, and there's folders for each utility with subfolders for each year that we have data, which is 2005 and then 2009 through 2024. There's the raw data spreadsheets that have account and consumption data, and some also include renewable energy data as well as
streetlight data and incentive program data. It all just kind of depends on the utility, what they give us. There's also a few utilities that we receive monthly data from, which we wanted to ask you all today if anyone is using the monthly data, because if not, we might stop asking for this granularity, as it just makes it take longer to analyze, and we're not using the monthly data. So let us know if you feel strongly about that. But just a few caveats about the data before we get into it. We do not have 2024 data from BGE yet, so we use 2023 data as a placeholder while we're working with them to get that data. And Dominion changed their billing system in 2023, which if you're a Dominion jurisdiction, I'm sure you're already aware. But this has caused some jurisdictional reclassifications, as well as like some differences in how accounts are classified. So it's made account numbers look a little different, but consumption looks on trend. Just in case anyone notices that and alarm bells ring, we're aware, and it's nothing to be super concerned about. In the Dropbox, we also have the utility data summaries, which is a summary for each year of the collected data, and the all years summary, which has the 2005 through 2024 data. Both of these summaries we have not updated for the 2024 data yet. It just has through 2023 in the Dropbox, because we're still waiting on that BGE data, and there's a few tweaks that might be made with other data, so it's not quite ready, but it'll be in there as soon as we get that data. And oh, there's also the renewable energy summary data that has all years of solar and wind, and we're working on adding battery storage, but that's also not quite ready yet. All right, next slide. Let's get into the data. So here we have like the highest level overview of electricity and natural gas consumption, with natural gas in the red and electricity in the blue. That dashed line on the left between 2005 and 2009 is because we don't have any data for those years, so that straight line is just between 2005 and 2009. And then the dashed line to the right between 2023 and 2024, that's because this is draft data. So you'll see on all the other slides of the graphs, they have these dashes. So I just don't want to have to say it every single slide, because we have a lot of graphs to go over. But if we look at the electricity consumption, we can see that it stays pretty flat until the early 20-teens, maybe 2016, 2017, and then it starts to increase. Whereas natural gas, it goes up and down, but it has a pretty flat trend line. And I'll speak to natural gas later. But next slide, I'll go deeper into electricity. So here we have residential and commercial electricity broken out. And you can see that residential electricity is basically flat between 2005 and 2024, whereas commercial electricity starts to see that increase in around 2017. And so it's clear that commercial electricity is the driver of overall electricity consumption growth in our region. And this increase does align with what we've been seeing in regards to data center growth. Next slide. So here this is just a breakout of residential electricity by suburban Maryland, DC, and Northern Virginia. And we can see that they all pretty much follow the same trends and are pretty flat throughout the years. Next slide. Looking at commercial, we have, again, suburban Maryland, DC, and Northern Virginia. We can see that DC and Northern Virginia follow the same trend line and are basically flat, whereas Northern Virginia starts to see that increase in the early 2010s. Again, this aligns with what we've seen in regards to data center growth. And it's been even increasing at a higher pace since like 2019, 2018. Next slide. So if we disaggregate this even further by the local jurisdictions for commercial electricity, we can see that many jurisdictions are generally pretty flat, and then we can see that increase with Loudoun County in that blackish dark gray color, and then in that light brown color that's increasing since 2015-ish and has that little peak at the end. That is Prince William County. So again, data center growth in the region can pretty much be, is the culprit of those increases. And let's see, next slide. So yeah, now we're gonna get into natural gas. We can see the breakout of commercial and residential natural gas consumption in the region. And in our region, we actually have higher residential natural gas consumption than commercial natural gas consumption, but we see basically very similar trends of highs and lows between the years. And we generally see a greater variance in natural gas consumption because it correlates to the severity of the winter typically. So a colder winter, we would see more natural gas consumption as it's commonly used as a heating fuel. Next slide. So looking a little bit deeper at residential natural gas, basically DC, Northern Virginia, and suburban Maryland all are pretty much on the same level. They follow the same trends, and none of them are increasing exponentially or decreasing exponentially. Next slide. And honestly, the same can be said for commercial. I think it's interesting that for residential, Northern Virginia and suburban Maryland consume about the same, but Northern Virginia consumes less commercial natural gas. I don't have a know why that is exactly, but just think it's interesting. And next slide. So here's the breakout by jurisdiction of natural gas trends for commercial. And again, they follow the same ups and downs. The smaller jurisdictions are a little bit more flat, but they're generally following the same trend. All right, next slide. So now grid-connected renewables. We can see this graph here shows the number of renewable energy systems installed across the region. And in 2009, COG recorded 467 systems in the region. And then in the Regional Climate and Energy Action Plan for 2017 to 2020, COG made a 30,000 renewable energy systems goal by 2020. And we surpassed that goal in 2017 by 33,827 systems. And now here we are in 2024 with over 93,000 systems and a total capacity exceeding 1,000 megawatts. And just a quick note that these numbers include solar and wind. However, wind is a very, very small percentage of renewable energy systems in the region at less than 14 megawatts compared to the total of 1,000. So small percentage of wind. Next slide. So here we can see it disaggregated by state, and suburban Maryland is leading the way, followed by DC and Northern Virginia. And Northern Virginia has been increasing at a much higher rate since 2020, 2019. And next slide. Here we can see it by local jurisdiction. And that green line at the top, that is Prince George's County. So kudos to them. And then it's followed by Montgomery County in the blue, and then that yellowish orange line and that brown line that are coming up, those are Frederick County and Fairfax County that are leading our region in solar. Well, a little bit of wind, but mostly solar. All right, next slide. So just a little bit of a pivot to finish off this presentation. The utility data is a great way to have like an annual monitor on what's happening in the built environment in the region. But every couple years we do our comprehensive regional greenhouse gas inventory. So we recently have put out our draft 2023 inventory to local governments to do some QA/QC on and get their comments. So here are the results. The 2023 greenhouse gas inventory shows that we reduced emissions by 19% gross and net 20% between 2005 and 2023. The net emissions include sequestration from forests and trees, as you can see on that light green at the bottom that goes into the negatives. Next slide. Here we just have a few different little statistics that help put into perspective what an over 14 million metric ton of CO2 equivalent reduction looks like. It's over 2.9 million homes off the grid in the year, over 4.9 million tons of waste diverted to recycling, and over 15.6 billion pounds of coal burning avoided. Next slide. So here we have a sector breakout of the 2023 gross emissions, with buildings being the highest emitting sector at 49%, broken out by data centers, residential, and commercial. And then we have transportation, not too far behind buildings at 41%, broken out by on-road, off-road, passenger air, and rail. And then we have the other 10% that 1% forest and trees, 3% waste, which is wastewater and solid waste. And then the other category is processed, fugitive, and agricultural emissions. This year with our consultant help, which you guys will be getting a presentation after this on the CCAP, we were able to do a data center breakout of our inventory for 2023 and 2020. Which is an estimate, but it's interesting to see the breakout from the general commercial sector that it was kind of being lumped into before. Next slide. So the leading factor for greenhouse gas emissions in electricity is how clean the electric grid is. And this chart shows you how clean the grid is getting over the years between 2005 and 2023. And these are the emission factors that go into the greenhouse gas calculations. So our region is served by the RFCE, which is DC and Maryland, and the SRVC, which is Virginia. And in 2005, they were both at over 1100 CO2e, and they are at, or not CO2e, that's just CO2, but then they went down to below 600 in 2023. So this can be mostly attributed to coal plants being retired and fuel switching to natural gas, and to a smaller extent, renewables are cleaning the grid. Next slide. So this shows the timeline. We're kind of in summer and fall right now. I think fall technically starts next Monday. But we have put out the draft deliverables to the local governments, and we have been having ongoing comment period and one-on-one meetings with some of you here. We've had these one-on-one meetings, and we will continue doing that throughout the fall. And then we will begin working on the contribution analysis and get those final deliverables ready to go out in the winter time. And let's see. And the final deliverables will be the Excel files, the contribution analysis files, and the fact sheets for each local government. Next slide. That's it. Here's my contact information. If you have any questions or concerns with the utility data or the greenhouse gas inventory, please send me an email. And yeah, I think we have time for questions.
Thanks, Elisa. That was a great presentation.
Thank you.
And we'll open it up for questions. If you have a question for Lisa about utility data or anything in the presentation, you can ask it now. You can put your question in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and just speak your question.
Alyssa, I have a comment. I probably have access to the folder that you're mentioning, but could you just send it out again so I make sure that I have it?
Yeah.
That would be helpful. And then let me be clear with the greenhouse gas. We got the draft one. You're telling us that the final one is going to be presented to us at the end of the year. I just didn't quite understand your timeline. I'm sorry.
We're not going to be doing additional presentations because I mean the data is mostly from draft to final. The data mostly stays the same. It's just on these little during this comment period. You know, if you were to say like something looks weird about the city of Alexandria, then we might make a little tweak with you during like these one-on-one meetings. But it's nothing nothing major. So we're not going to be doing presentations.
So you're not
on the final.
re-releasing anything is I guess what I'm asking bottom line.
Oh, the fact sheets and stuff will be put on the website with the final inventories.
And when would that be? I guess I'm asking also that.
Winter, early in the new year.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, I see that Maddie, you have your hand raised. Is that-
Yes, I do. First of all,
Okay.
thank you. This was a great presentation. I learned a lot. I'm so proud of Prince George's County, as you know, City of Bowie is in PG County, right? I did have not a question, but more like an observation that I made. I noticed that during the time of COVID, residential didn't pick up whatsoever. It maintained pretty much a constant leveling out. And I thought that was interesting, given that so many of us were home versus, you know, being at work. And so the power usage would be obviously at home. And then I didn't see the companies or the businesses or, you know, go down. So I thought that was kind of an interesting,
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. The commercial like
Yeah.
took a slight dip. But yeah, residential didn't really have an increase. I think that can be attributed to energy efficiency that we have in our homes now. I mean, some people's, whether they were using or not, desktop may have be plugged in at their house before they were working from home.
it just sort of was an interesting thought that that was not there.
No, it
Um,
is definitely interesting.
Yeah. And then the only concern I obviously have is that, you know, it looks like we're really doing a really good job. We're progressing really well. And now with everything that is going on at the federal level, it's kind of scary that, you know, the momentum is not maybe going to be there. So just a thought. That's all. And we have to stick together, I suppose, to make sure that we continue.
Indeed. Thanks, Maddie. Rich Hall, you have your hand raised. That might have been from before.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't need to. So sorry about that. I'll put it back down. Thanks.
All right. We have a comment from Yi Sun from Prince William County. EPA has proposed to stop the greenhouse gas reporting program. Is that going to affect the eGrid data reliability in the future?
It very well might. But I think, you know, when federal pulls out and isn't reporting this sort of data, other organizations step in. So hopefully, while we're not having the EPA data, we can get it from another source if there's a gap.
All right, Maya, I see you turned on your camera. Were you going to chime in on that one as well?
Yeah, I think the greenhouse gas reporting program he's referring to is a little bit different than eGrid. But we do use the greenhouse gas reporting program to look at methane levels, methane capture at landfills that our jurisdictions dispose waste to. So we do leverage that data, but I think eGrid is kind of separate from that. But I think it's the same answer what Alyssa said of, you know, it's possible.
And perhaps Yi is talking about the endangerment finding, but we'll give an update at the end of the meeting with that. We're not sure if, you know, Yi, if you can clarify if that's what you're talking about, the endangerment finding repeal. So.
No, actually, that's about the E-grade and the greenhouse gas reporting program. I guess they are stopped requesting information from the power plant, which might be used as a foundational data for the E-grade program. But yeah, we'll see. Thanks.
Yeah, I saw that too. Just last Friday. Which is concerning, but we'll find a way ahead.
And I had a question. Do we only track electricity and gas as opposed to other utilities such as water or like fuel oil?
Fuel oil is that's accounted for in the greenhouse gas inventories that we do every couple years. We don't get fuel oil from we have other data sources for fuel oil. It doesn't come directly from the utilities. And wastewater is in our greenhouse gas inventories as well.
I was thinking like consumption, like water consumption. Do we include that in this type of tracking or not?
I'm not sure if our water team has that sort of data.
Yeah, I don't know if Heidi is on here or any of the, well, she's on our team now, but you don't know if she's on here to maybe clarify or provide any information on that. And Maya, if you know if the water side tracks water consumption, I've not heard that, but
We have a wastewater modeler where we get data for the greenhouse gas inventories. And so they're tracking you know, flow and all sorts of things from wastewater treatment plants, but more the regional water scale planning. They coordinate with another organization who is mainly doing that work.
Thank you. Any other questions about utility data analysis? All right, I don't see any. So thank you very much, Alyssa and staff. So we'll move on to the next agenda item. This is the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan Workforce Analysis Review. We have Deb and Fiona from ICF. This is a follow-up from the April meeting where we had a panel called Building a Climate Ready Workforce with panelists from Emerald Cities Collaborative, Prince George's Community College, and Montgomery County Community College. So ICF will review the draft results of the workforce analysis. Take it away.
Thank you. And Leah, it looks like you're getting it up to full screen. And just one quick note on presentation speakers. Emily Carr from our team is joining this morning in place of Deb. So she'll be kicking us off. We're going to go through a high-level overview of kind of the plan in full for the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan, and then kind of focus in on the workforce discussion.
Yeah, thanks Fiona for the introduction. So in the presentation today, I'll first give some background on the CPRG program, then I'll show our draft results for the greenhouse gas inventory and business as usual projections. And then next I'll walk you through the CCAP greenhouse gas reduction measures list and the emission reduction potential for those measures. And then Fiona will walk you all through the results of our workforce assessment. Next slide. So the Climate Pollution Reduction Grants, or CPRG program, provided grants to states and metropolitan statistical areas, including the DC area, to develop and implement plans to reduce economy-wide greenhouse gas emissions and other harmful air pollution. There were multiple rounds of planning included in the grant. The first round was called the Priority Climate Action Plan, or PCAP, and that was due March 1st, 2024. And then the second round, called the Comprehensive Climate Action Plan, or CCAP, is due December 1st of this year. COG is managing the $1 million of funding through the program, but the whole plan includes all of the COG counties plus additional counties in Virginia and West Virginia, as shown in the map on the right. Next slide. So as I just mentioned, the CCAP takes a look at economy-wide emission reductions. So we're looking at ways to reduce emissions in the transportation, buildings, electric power, waste, agriculture, and natural and working land sectors. The plan is taking a what would it take approach to reach net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. So it models a list of aggressive but feasible greenhouse gas mitigation strategies to put the region on a pathway to net zero emission. And then finally, in addition to the greenhouse gas modeling, there are also other analyses required in the plan, like a benefits analysis assessing how the measures will impact co-pollutants, and then a workforce assessment to identify any gaps in the workforce for implementing the plan. Next slide. This is an overview of the 2020 greenhouse gas inventory that we're using for the CCAP. So as you can see here in dark pink, the on-road transportation sector is the MSA's largest source of emissions at 33% of gross emissions. And then the second largest sector is commercial buildings at 24%. And then one thing to note is that the natural and working land sector is a net carbon sink rather than a source of emissions. So the share of emissions from each sector is calculated before subtracting out the carbon removals from the natural and working land sector. Next slide, please. And so this graph shows the BAU emissions for the MSA starting in the inventory year of 2020 and then forecasted out to 2050. On-road transportation in dark pink again is expected to stay as the highest emitting sector through 2050. And you might also notice that there's a decline in the total BAU emissions over time, which is a result of clean electricity being projected to be an increasing share of the electricity mix in the future from the Virginia Clean Economy Act and DC and Maryland's renewable portfolio standards. Next slide. This is a list of all of the measures that we're including in the CCAP here for documentation purposes. The list is largely the same as the measure list for the PCAP, with some new additions in the building sector for data centers, and then a new addition for community engagement. Next slide, please. And this is the result of our economy-wide greenhouse gas, excuse me, the economy-wide greenhouse gas reduction analysis. If you're not familiar with wedge charts, the way you can read this is by looking at the top of the graph, that black line there, that's the BAU emissions total. And then the size of each section or wedge of the chart represents the size of the greenhouse gas reductions associated with each measure. And then the bottom of the graph, that red dotted line there, that represents the amount of emissions left. The measure that results in the most greenhouse gas emission reductions is the zero emission vehicle adoption measure in dark pink, followed by the buildings measures, which are things like building energy efficiency and electrification in blue. Next slide, please. So there are a few slides here with documentation that walk through our key modeling assumptions and the drivers behind those assumptions. I'm not going to go through all of them now, but they're available in the slides in case you want to take a closer look later. So these are our assumptions for the built environment or building sector. If you go to the next slide, these are our assumptions for the transportation sector. And then on the next slide, we have our assumptions for the natural and working lands, waste, and rooftop solar modeling. Next slide, please. In addition to the greenhouse gas reduction analysis, the CPRG program also requires an analysis of how co-pollutants will change as a result of the measures. So this followed a similar structure. We have an inventory of criteria air pollutants and hazardous air pollutants by county. And then we projected these results for a BAU scenario from EPA's NEI data, and then estimated the reduction in co-pollutants as a result of the measures. And then the analysis covered the co-pollutants that are listed here at the bottom of the slide. Next slide, please. So these are some of our draft results of the changes in co-pollutants from implementing the economy-wide measures. So we are seeing a cumulative reduction in each of the co-pollutants over time as a result of these measures. And next slide. Using the reductions in the co-pollutants from the previous slide, we ran the Co-Benefits Risk Assessment or COBRA screening tool to understand what the reductions in certain types of incidents might be and the associated avoided healthcare related costs. And we found that there would be reductions in each of the categories on the right, including cardiovascular conditions, hospital visits, missed school or work, mortality, and respiratory conditions, and that the region could save hundreds of millions of dollars per year on healthcare related costs. Next slide, and I'll pass it over to Fiona to talk about the workforce analysis.
Thanks, Emily. So the other kind of big component required for the CCAP is a workforce assessment for the region, looking at potential shortages that could prevent the region from fully implementing the measures for the CCAP and kind of achieving that long-term net zero emissions target. And as kind of a second step to identifying those potential shortages is then identifying potential solutions and partnerships to help address those challenges. Yeah, next slide, please. So the next two slides are going to show a bunch of numbers. These are here more for your information after the fact. But the main takeaway is that looking just at the high-level occupation data that would be impacted by a lot of the measures, so thinking about the construction sector, HVAC technicians, roofers, rooftop solar installers, those sorts of occupation level data, there are no major gaps right now across the COG region or major surpluses in any of these occupations. Everything's within kind of a 2 to 4% range of supply and demand today. That's great. It means there's no major shortages and no major surpluses in the region. It does mean, though, that going forward with anticipated increased demand from measure implementation, the amount that the workforce supply needs to grow is going to be pretty significant to keep pace. But at least we're not starting at the high level from like starting today from a place of a shortage and we kind of needing to catch up. It's just growing going forward. So for this table here, it's kind of showing the major surpluses and shortages. Again, no major ones in either direction across all of the sectors. So in pretty good alignment. The one thing we do want to note here is that this data is collected at the occupation level, which is a limit in and of itself, and that information is not reported at a subsector or sub-occupation level. So we might have information on HVAC technicians, but it's hard to get details on which ones might be certified for heat pumps specifically. The same goes for the automotive space. We might be able to look at vehicle maintenance, occupation, but not really understand which ones are electric vehicle certified or trained in particular. So that's just kind of a gap on the data collection side. So to kind of supplement this, we've done a range of stakeholder engagement activities, including workshops and some targeted questions to understand potential barriers in more local context within some of these occupations, and particularly that sub-level occupation. So the next slide starts to go through some of those takeaways from those conversations. And in particular, when we were having these discussions, we were asking, is there a specific gap for a particular type of worker in the sector? What are the barriers that employers are facing in attracting or retaining workers? And then some potential solutions or successful program examples. So generally, again, no major gaps at the occupation level. There does seem to be sufficient training capacity as well in the region related to building trades and electricians, but potential shortages around EV maintenance and energy auditors, those two came up in particular. So that stakeholder engagement, again, was really pulling out that secondary level of EV maintenance and energy auditors as a focus that came up a couple times in conversation. The next slide kind of talks a bit about the solutioning framework. So looking to leverage and expand on existing partnerships more directly for clean energy and climate-related occupational needs. So this could be scaling existing successful programs around education, training, and job matching, as well as building that workforce pipeline for students to kind of support those opportunities and just make them aware of those job opportunities and career paths in the region. The other thing that came up pretty frequently in conversation was the need for comprehensive solutions outside of just training to ensure equitable access to training and worker retention. So this could be through internship programs, alternative career pathways, competitive pay, et cetera, or childcare, but basically kind of needing to solution around retention issues related to high housing costs and living costs in the region as well. And then the next slide just shows an example of input provided by Montgomery County on one of their successful workforce programs. And this was a workforce development partnership focused on transportation and building trades and basically training to meet future technologies. And this one saw a pretty successful apprenticeship program with a 92% boost in retention rates, which is awesome, and kind of helping to not only train, but then retain workers within the county. And then the next slide just goes through next steps for this whole process. So here in September 2025, we've been going to quite a few of the COG committees this month, kind of presenting on these findings, getting any initial comments before this goes out for public comment period in October. And then this will go through final revisions in November, and it is due to EPA on December 1st of this year. And that's all we have for today. I know we are a bit ahead of schedule, so happy to take any questions or comments on this work.
Okay, thank you very much, Emily Carr, no relation, and Fiona. Great presentation, lots of super interesting information and helpful information. So we really appreciate it. And yeah, now is the time for questions. So if you have a question, you can stick it in the chat, or you can raise your hand, or you can just unmute yourself and just start talking.
I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. It was really, really good information. We appreciate it.
All right, and I guess if folks think of a question later and they want to reach out about it, how would they do that?
It's kind of easiest to funnel most questions through Maya at COG.
Okay. So you all heard that. If you have additional questions after the meeting, you can funnel it through Maya Davis at COG. I'm not seeing any hands or questions in the chat. So we'll give folks another minute here to see if they have questions, if they want to look through the PowerPoint. And there's, of course, there is a page for this meeting where you can download this presentation, all the other presentations, the agenda, all that good stuff. Watch the recording of the meeting afterwards. All right, well, thanks again. Hearing no further questions, we'll move on to the next agenda item. This is agenda item number 6, the mid-course review and local case studies. We have Caroline Sherman and Marley Moore, who are COG externs. So this is a follow-up presentation on the mid-course review. Part of the progress tracking included an update to the performance indicators and highlighting some local actions through case studies. And there will be an opportunity for questions after the presentation. So take it away, Marley and Caroline.
Thank you, Chair. All right, so hi, my name is Caroline Sherman, and today Marley Moore and I will be discussing the local case studies for the 2025 mid-course review. Next slide. Yes, so just a quick overview of the mid-course review. It is assessing how the region is doing towards the regional 2030 greenhouse emission reduction goal and the regional climate and energy action plan. Various pieces of the review have been brought to the COG climate and energy committees throughout this year, as you can see in the table on the screen. This spring, actually, local governments responded to a climate action questionnaire that informed the development of the case studies we'd like to present as a part of the mid-course review. Marley and I have been working on developing these case studies and will review them with you all today. Just a note, there are a couple case studies per climate action sector. Next slide. Yeah, just going more in depth for the overview of the mid-course review. The Metropolitan Washington 2030 Climate and Energy Action Plan identifies several climate action areas that the region needs to make progress on in order to meet regional climate goals, which are displayed on the screen in the table. The mid-course review is tracking the region's progress towards climate action and highlights local jurisdiction case studies in climate action areas that align with the 2030 plan. Additionally, equity is emphasized as an important factor throughout the climate action areas, / all the climate action in underserved and disadvantaged communities. And that's pretty much the main focus on how to support those underserved and disadvantaged communities. And then lastly, action across the region, across sectors, and across small to large communities can add up to big results. So it's important that everyone does their part. Right, next slide. Right, so getting into the case studies, our first sector, greenhouse gases, we decided to focus on Rockville as they developed, as a part of their climate action plan, a climate action dashboard based off of their annual report on their website. The dashboard displays their greenhouse gas reduction goals and the progress that they are making with achieving 50% reduction by 2030 based off of their 2005 baseline inventory. Overall, residents can see that the jurisdiction has completed over 26% of their reduction goals, with 60% in progress and a little bit over 13% has been phased. As for the benefits, residents having an interactive dashboard where they're able to see the status of specific sectors such as energy efficiency and transportation can increase community engagement and knowledge of what progress has been made for each of these goals. So it doesn't seem that far reaching. Next slide. And then for the second case study, we decided to focus on the District of Columbia, more specifically their Department of Energy and Environment, which regularly tracks the district's greenhouse gas emissions to measure their progress towards reduction goals of 60% by 2030. They also have Sustainable DC 2.0, which is a user-friendly website to see the progress they are making with energy. As for the outcomes, the district saw a 35% reduction in their emissions compared to the 2006 baseline inventory in their 2022 annual report. For benefits, residents are able to see the progress the district is making to achieve the city's reduction goals each year with their annual reports and on the Sustainable DC 2.0 website, which can make these goals seem more attainable to the average person. Next slide, and I'm just going to pass it along to Marley.
So for our first clean electricity case study, we have solar cooperatives. So we're focusing on Solarize Nova, which is the local energy alliance program that uses community-based outreach programs to reduce the cost and complexity of solar installation projects in communities. And then Solar United Neighbors, SUN, which the organization arranges solar co-ops for group purchasing of solar panel installations. SUN has either installed or is currently in the process of permitting for 31,036 kilowatts of rooftop solar across COG jurisdictions, and Solarize Nova has installed 1,015 solar panel systems installations and totaling 9.3 megawatts of capacity. The benefits of this have been solar co-ops enable residents, communities, and businesses to find affordable and well-vetted contractors to implement solar installation projects at a discounted rate. Next slide. The second clean electricity case study is Prince George's County. Prince George's County developed a clean and renewable energy report and siting analysis to accelerate solar and other clean electricity technologies deployment in the county. The county developed the report and analysis in partnership with COG through COG's Master Contract for Climate Work. The report will be released in October in celebration of Energy Action Month. The outcome of this is it'll simplify future solar panel planning and expansion, and it's identified over 97,000 potential solar projects with over 7,000 megawatts of total capacity. This project was just one of many programs in the county to expand clean energy. Others include the Solar Research Pilot Program that launched in 2025, and it provides a grant of up to $10,000 to residents and energy resiliency communities. The purpose of this research pilot was to obtain valuable lessons in the residential solar sector, and enhance customer satisfaction before launching a countywide Solarize program later this year. The county has also installed solar canopies at 4 county government sites, with 2 additional sites expected to be completed by the end of 2025. Next slide. So for our first zero energy building case study, we have Alexandria City High School's Mini Howard campus. It's a recently completed school building that is pursuing the LEED Gold certification and net zero energy in line with Alexandria's green building policy. It has optimized building design and used materials to conserve energy and lower environmental impact. It has solar panel installations on the roof and other areas. It also utilizes low water fixtures. This means that the building is designed to save at least 25% more energy yearly than a similar school designed to code minimum levels, allowing energy costs and HVAC system size to be reduced. Also, as the highly efficient water fixtures help reduce water use by 35 to 40% compared to a conventional building. So for our next zero energy building, we have Arlington's Alice West Fleet Elementary School, which is a net zero energy and LEED Gold certified building. The school uses renewable energy. 20% of the land is vegetated by 85 different native species of plants and trees, and 92% of construction waste was diverted from landfills. It's important to note that this added a lot of green space in the area, as this was originally a surface parking lot. And so the benefits of this are that the outdoor classrooms, terraces, and gardens connect students to nature and support hands-on learning. Natural light and operable windows supplemented with LED lighting create a vibrant, energy-smart learning environment. And the school uses a power pole that showcases real-time energy use and solar production, which turns the school into a living lab that students can utilize for study. Next slide. So for the first zero energy vehicle case study, we have Fairfax County's Charge Up Fairfax. So this is a program that homeowners associations and other community organizations can use to install EV charging stations. The program provides free technical assessment and reimbursement grants to cover some expenses. Communities can leverage Charge Up Fairfax with the utility company Dominion's Level 2 program to reduce installation and maintenance costs of charging stations even further. 17 communities so far have participated in the program, with 5 communities successfully completing their charging station installations. And the benefits of this are that it incentivizes residents of the neighborhood to consider buying an electric vehicle, and it simplifies regulatory processes and coordination efforts between stakeholders. Next slide. So for our next zero energy vehicle case study, we have Bladensburg. And so between 2023 and 2024, EV charging stations were installed at multiple city buildings, including the Town Hall, Community Center, and Branch Library. The outcome of this is that it supports more electric vehicles in the area and opportunities for those traveling within the area to have access to charging stations in safe locations 24/7. The county has also received additional funding from the state of Maryland through the Community Electric Vehicle Supply Equipment Grant Program. So they will be continuing to install additional EV charging stations throughout the town. And this encourages the use of electric cars amongst residents, which can improve the air quality in the area. Next slide. For our mode shift and travel behavior case study, we have Falls Church, which implemented the South Washington Street Multimodal Improvement Project. to improve walkability and transit. The project included the construction of a transit plaza, new crosswalks, streetscape improvements, signal upgrades, stormwater infrastructure, and storytelling history panels. COG's Transportation Department actually assisted with the initial assessment of the site in 2008. And the outcomes of this have been increased pedestrian safety and access to transit, as well as improved stormwater retention. And overall, this has improved multimodal connections to the city's downtown area, North Washington Street, and East Falls Church Metro Rail, as well as improved safety for all road users and the creation of a more walkable corridor. I'm going to pass this next slide back to Caroline.
Yes, so our second case study for the mode shift in travel behavior, we decided to focus on Montgomery County as they conducted a flex expansion study to provide a performance assessment to inform future planning efforts to develop similar on-demand transit services collected from this bus program called Flex. The study engaged a variety of stakeholders to increase the equitability and efficiency of the routes for the community. In terms of outcomes, Flex established the on-demand bus service in 19 new Flex zones in the pilot areas of Glenmont, Rockville, and Wheaton to serve up to 485,000 people and 235,000 jobs. As for the benefits, the study engaged a variety of stakeholders to increase the equitability and efficiency of the routes for the community. COG's equity emphasis areas and Montgomery Planning's equity focus areas were both used to analyze and determine which zones would benefit the most from the Flex bus from an equity perspective. Additionally, the fare is $1, which allows increased accessibility and transportation for people of almost all socioeconomic backgrounds, and is on a needs-based system, which decreases the unnecessary waste that can come from transportation. Next slide. And then for our next sector, zero waste, we decided to focus on the city of Laurel, as they have an address-based app called Recycle Coach that provides information about the city's trash and recycling program. For the outcomes, residents can access the schedule and events, learn about the accepted materials, set reminders to never miss the weekly collection date, and receive instant updates. And they can also have the ability to export calendar events to their own calendar application. As for the benefits, the app lowers the barrier to entry when gaining knowledge and understanding about recycling, i.e. the how-to and what is allowed to be recycled with specific materials and products. In addition, it keeps residents properly informed on any updates that the city may have in terms of recycling and trash. Next slide. Now for our second case study for zero waste, we focused on Compost Crew, in which the cities of Frederick, Greenbelt, Falls Church, and Manassas have all established contracts with Compost Crew, a locally owned business based in Rockville, Maryland, to provide weekly curbside food scrap collection services for households in their communities. For the outcomes, the cities are providing an easily accessible option for their communities to compost the food scraps, which reduces waste going to the landfills and converts the food scraps into a enriched soil amendment. As for the benefits, the city's contracts offer the neighborhoods lower or free rates for their curbside composting pickup, which allows for an equitable and low effort way for communities of members of various communities to compost and lower their waste. Next slide, please. And for our final sector, sequestration, we decided to focus on the city of Bowie with their Plant One Tree on Us program, which is for Bowie residents to pick out a tree from their list of acceptable native species, decide where they want to plant it on their property, and have it planted by the government's contractors. As for the outcomes, 442 trees have been planted as a result of this program. For the benefits, residents are able to contribute to the city's goal of 45% tree canopy coverage, while also learning about native trees to the area and how to properly maintain their new tree with the city's support. Next slide. And then for our final case study for sequestration, we decided to focus on the city of Fairfax and their Sprout initiative, which engages members of the community to plant, take care of, and learn about trees that make up their urban forest. As for the outcomes, the initiative saw that 365 trees were delivered to residents and 320 trees were planted on public land. This all culminated in 550 volunteer hours and non-native and invasive removal and tree planting, with an additional 320 workforce development hours in the city's job program, which is all under the city's first urban forest master plan, which is still in development right now. As for the benefits, the initiative lowers the barrier to access information on the removal of invasive species and the planting/maintenance of native trees. It has also increased participation in the development of the Urban Forest Master Plan, which is focusing on creating community-focused goals and priorities. Next slide. All right, this is the conclusion of our presentation. I'd like to pass it back to the chair now, and we're happy to answer any questions that you guys may have. Thank you.
Chair, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, okay. Thank you, Marley and Caroline, our COG externs, for that excellent presentation, great work, really cool case studies. So again, thank you so much for putting that all together for us in one place. Thanks to the local governments who helped them with that information, as Maya pointed out in the chat. So we're gonna open up for questions for our externs. If you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand or stick it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and just speak your question.
Chair, I actually have a question. For the compost crew, do we know if they used a rider clause, since there were jurisdictions across the region that used compost crew for a contract? Maybe Maya. I'm not sure, but there's something that we could, if we don't know specifically now, that we can obviously ask our contracts if we know of the rider clause.
Yeah, I don't think we uncovered that, but I was actually, some of the folks are on the call today, so I was actually going to ask if any of the local jurisdictions are aware, but I think Jenny's.
Okay. Jenny Willoughby, yes. She said no, there isn't. Okay.
All right, any of the other local governments on from the compost crew? I know Greenbelt was in there, others. But yeah, that's great that Frederick is including a rider so that others can piggyback in the future. It's great. Okay, I see that Valerie has raised her hand from Alexandria.
Yeah, just a question, and maybe you can answer this. I'm pretty sure it was an elementary school in city of Fairfax. They talked about their solar pole. I'm just curious exactly what that was. I've never heard that phrase before. So does anyone have more information about what that was, or what we have is what's on the slide?
I can elaborate a little more on it. So it's a power pole, and it basically is like live tracking like energy usage within the school and like saving that information, so students can kind of see like what's happening directly energy wise, from what I understand, within the school.
So it's like a dashboard. Is it different from a dashboard? I guess that's my question.
I don't think it's the same as a dashboard, but that's like as much as I know in terms
Okay.
of like what was communicated to
I
me.
just sounded cool. Okay, thank you.
That does sound very cool. So at some point we'll have to get a visual of what that looks like. I see Emily Curley from Montgomery County asked a question in the chat. Are you taking ideas for additional case studies? Would like to see existing buildings that have electrified.
Sure, send any ideas you have along. Our idea was that the mid-course review that we have like a section where we have a lot of the information that like Alyssa shared earlier, like here's tracking the trends on greenhouse gases and energy consumption and how clean is the grid. And, you know, so we have these like key performance indicators in each of these sectors of the mid-course review. And then we're summarizing up, you know, what the survey said that you all sent us earlier this year, like cumulative survey results on how the local jurisdictions are implementing measures to, you know, support energy efficiency and renewable energy growth and these different areas. And then we were sharing a couple example case studies per sector on this. But if you have other case studies that you didn't hear about that you think would be interesting, please do send them along. Happy to look into them further.
Okay, other questions? And I see Maya put in here, Caroline and Marley, you are graduating from the DCSE Workforce Development Program next week. Congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any more questions. So again, thanks again for that information. We are way ahead of schedule. And we'll move on to the final agenda item. This is the 2025 updates meeting schedule. I think Robert has an update on the EPA endangerment finding repeal. So I'll hand it over to Robert. Christopher.
Thank you, Chair Carr. I'm just going to provide a brief update on that. So just a little bit of background for people that might not know. The endangerment finding was issued in 2009 after a Supreme Court decision ruled that greenhouse gases could be regulated under the Clean Air Act, and EPA determined the greenhouse gases endangered public health and welfare, which gave it the authority and obligation to regulate emissions from vehicles with stationary sources. And that finding has stood for the past 15 years and is the foundation for every major federal climate rule since that time. On July 29th of this year, the current EPA Administrator, Lee Zeldin, proposed repealing that finding. And the current rationale is that EPA's authority should be narrower, focused only on domestic impacts, and that Congress should decide issues of major economic significance, and that some of the science is outdated. If the repeal succeeds, EPA would lose authority over vehicle greenhouse gas standards, and many stationary source rules would be weakened or eliminated. The argument in favor of repeal is that it would save industry around $54 billion annually in compliance costs, lower fuel and electricity prices, and boost competitiveness. Opponents, on the other hand, warn that those savings are outweighed by the long-term costs, which could result in more extreme weather, higher health risks, greater healthcare expenses, and productivity losses, as well as creating regulatory uncertainty for states and industries. For states and regions, those consequences are substantial. Federal standards generally provide a consistent framework that steadily lowers emissions from vehicles and power plants. Without them, responsibility would shift to states and local governments, creating a fragmented approach and making it harder and more expensive to meet our climate goals. This would directly affect our goals of a 50% reduction by 2030 and 80% reduction by 2050. Currently, COG's Climate, Energy, and Environment Policy Committee, or CPC, is considering a comment letter opposing the repeal and urging EPA to maintain its authority and stressing the importance of these federal standards in supporting regional climate goals. If the repeal proceeds, however, Congress could amend the Clean Air Act to explicitly give EPA authority to regulate greenhouse gases and preserve vehicle standards, although this seems unlikely given the current administration opposition to this. We believe that the endangerment finding remains legally sound and scientifically supported and is essential to public health and climate progress. Repeal would weaken federal leadership and increase uncertainty and place greater burdens on state and local governments. And that is the update on the endangerment finding. Thank you, Chair Carr.
All right, thank you, Robert. Do we have any other updates from staff? Okay, so the next BAC meeting is scheduled for November 20th, 25, virtual meeting, of course. But anyway, this concludes the meeting. Thanks so much to the staff again for all your work in putting this together, and our panelists, presenters. Thanks to all the participants and the great questions. So we are adjourned. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.